Okay, so hi, this is the video for, oh, sorry, my bad. Okay, so this is the video for problem 2 of ESE403 midterm 3, as well. Let's go through the problem again. This problem is basically about this guy who invested in some Asian currencies, which includes Japanese yen and two other currencies. And at the time when he did the investment, a dollar was worth 80 yen, but unfortunately right now a dollar is worth 125 yen, meaning that the exchange rate changes. And as well, we provided with three tables. In the first one is the currency exchange rate for different currencies. Uh, as we can see, if we exchange from currency A to currency B and then into currency C, it should be the same as directly like convert currency A into currency C's. You can like times the currency rates together and finds the product is the same as like A directly to C. But what makes this different is that there's a certain transaction cost between each pair of two different currencies. Let's see, for example, if you exchange from yen to US dollars, there's like a 0.4% transaction cost. And if you convert like Canadian dollars into euros, there's like 0.2% transaction cost. This is like kind of what makes this problem complex. But what makes this problem even more complex is that since the market realized that there's like certain risk for these three currencies, there's like kind of like transaction limits to from like these three currencies to other currencies. And each number in this table is equivalent with like $1,000 for each one presented here. For example, this 5,000 is actually $5 million. So let's walk through how I solve these problems. First, for part A, formulate this problem as the minimum cost flow problems, and then drop the network, identify supply and demand nodes. To be honest, I really don't want to drop this because this is so complex. I tried a lot of times and finally I found out a way to just like display all of the nodes and all of the edges. And you can see here when there's like a line with arrow, a line segment with arrow, it indicates that we only like converted the currencies in one direction. For example, we will definitely not like convert US dollars into yen because this is the direction that we wanted. We want to convert everything into US dollars in order to like to control these worse and worse situations and use the US dollars that we obtain to purchase US bonds. And first of all, we need to like calculate the value of our initial holdings in terms of US dollars. We use the exchange rate from table 1 to calculate like how much in terms of US dollars are we holding for each of the three Asian currencies at the beginning. And also, since there's not enough space to write all of the restrictions like capacities and transaction cost within this chart, I write them beside. For each pair of numbers, the first numbers indicates if there's like a capacity, like meaning the transaction limits. And for like transactions not from these of the three in-risk currencies, there's no such transaction limits, meaning infinity. And the second number here with the percentage sign, it is the percentage of the transaction cost for each like transactions. And we can see the supply nodes obviously are the three initial holdings we have. Yen, I don't know how to read these two currencies, but like the three Asian currencies that our main character is holding at first, and our demand node is definitely USD because we want to convert everything to USD, right? And so the demand of the demand node is basically just the negative version of the three supply nodes capacities added together. And down below is this big baby is the minimum cost flow problems that we formulated. This is the objective function here times by $1 million. This is like the transaction cost. Each transaction, like possible transaction cost happened, like if we have the transaction between each pair of the two currencies and subject to these three currencies, like these three supply nodes, this demand node, and all of the transshipment nodes that should not have anything remaining in them. and all of the transaction limits are displayed below. So this is the IBM version of it, and we obtain the results here. This is an optimal solution of our transaction cost. This is the total transaction cost, like the minimum value for it. And for part B, we want to solve it. Oh, this is actually what I just did. And the money that Jake have to invest in US bonds should be the initial values of the total like US bond he has, US dollars he has, minus the minimum transaction cost that we calculated using our model. So this difference is the number of dollars that he has after the transactions. And for part C, they said they have to forbid the transaction limits. How should we like reformulate our model? This is very simple. Basically, just you see the model that we formulate here, right? Oh, just see this version here. We have like a lot of transaction limits, like i.e. the restrictions displayed below. What we need to do is basically just remove all of these restrictions, because as stated, there's no restrictions anymore, right? So the revised version is described below. You can see there's no like further restrictions for transaction limits at all. And we obtain the new result, which is this number, $67,480 is the minimum total transaction fee. This makes sense because this number is smaller than the first number, because we have like less limitations. So possibly we can obtain like even better optimal solution. And for part D, we have to see there's like a new tax that is casted on this single currency. So what we need to do is to change the, let's see, where is it? Yeah, here. We have to times all of the transaction cost percentage concerning this currency by 6, because it is like increased by 500%. So we should times it by 6 in order to like display the new transaction cost that is required. And the solution we obtained, surprisingly, like the transactions that we need to do is still the same as the last part C, but the total transaction fee is even more, which makes sense because we have like a higher transaction fee for these currency, Rufian or something, I don't know, sorry. And for part E, let's say Jake realized that his analysis is incomplete because he has not included all the aspects. What other aspects should we consider? Let's say my personal idea is that since we're considering about the transaction cost and currency exchange rate here, we know that the currency exchange rate keeps changing on a real-time basis. As stating the problem, he can obtain these values from their like company's provided information. However, their company is not powerful enough to stop the changing in all of the exchange rate and i.e. also the transaction costs. So I mean, like he has to consider the kind of the fluctuations in all of the exchange rate and transaction costs, and take this uncertainty into considerations and be prepared to redesign his model once his model is not correct at all. So that's all. Thank you.